Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to work on the Farmall 460 PTO project. I'm hoping by the end of the video I want to have all the guts put back inside this clutch housing, and I'd like to have it back on the tractor. The new clutch disc came for the torque amplifier the other day. I've already had this stuff already installed once. I wanted to set the height of the clutch release fingers, the pressure plate release fingers, according to the spec in the book of 1 5/8 inches. So that's already been pre-done, assembled. So now we want to get all this put inside the clutch housing. I already went ahead and installed the planetary gear assembly from the back. That's already in and tight. So now we got to install the flywheel hub on the shaft here for the torque amplifier. Now for the locking ring, this does have a tab that lines up with the splines on the shaft to keep it from turning. Now we'll put the retaining ring on. It's just a threaded collar. There. This disc will only go on one way. That should be good there. Now for the pressure plate release fork, clutch release fork, whatever you want to call it. Now there are two half moon keys that go in the shaft that helps locate and take the load of the throwout fork on the shaft. Now let's see if I can do this without dropping it. Now let's see if I can get them lined up. Hey, that one slid right in. Now for the backup washer and retaining ring. Now for the retaining bolt, pin, whatever you want to call it. It keeps the throwout fork centered on the shaft. Alright, now it's time to put the input shaft in for the second time. Yep, I had this in once already and then I had to take it back out. I guess I put the cart before the horse. Alright, there's the PTO drive out the back. And there's the transmission drive out the back. That's direct. Alright, now we have the engine clutch throwout bearing and shaft to install. I need to find where, there they are. There's two washers that fit in grooves on the shaft. Alright, what's going on here? Nah. Trying to do this at too much of an angle. Alright, there's that. Now I gotta find the grooves. Couldn't have went that easy. Huh. Get the bolts in it before I lose it. I guess before I get too crazy tightening the bolts down, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I guess I gotta take the bolts back out. I can't pivot the shaft enough to allow the yoke to engage on the throwout bearing housing. So I gotta take the bolts back out. Well, after a few minutes, I finally got the washers in place and the bolts in. Now we'll tighten these up. And I think that's it for here. I went ahead and installed the lower cover for the PTO driven gear. I had to make a gasket for this. I made it out of just some cork material. And I also made a gasket for this lower cover as well, but I can't put this one on yet until this clutch housing is mounted to the rear end of the tractor. There's a bolt that comes in right here from the bottom, so that's got to get put in and then this cover can get put on. So really the only thing I think I have left to do is put the large pipe plug in from the front that gains access to the bolt that holds the lower PTO drive gear on, and put the hydraulic filter and cover on. Then we can mount it up to the tractor. We've gotten over an inch of rain the last 3 days. It's just been kind of a gradual, steady rain. So I'm ready for some sunshine. But worst part is when it gets to be time to cut hay, it's gonna be pretty wet yet. So we're probably gonna have to let things dry out for a good week before you can even get in the field. The hydraulic filter assembly on this thing is kind of unique. You have this steel housing with a steel pre-filter, I'm going to call it. You take these two flathead screws out and this whole thing comes apart, and there's two paper elements inside here. So I took it all apart, didn't see anything wrong with the paper elements inside. I cleaned the outside screen, got that all good and clean from any metal fragments from when this thing came apart. So we should be ready to put this thing back together. This spring tab seats up against this cover, and when you tighten it down, it puts pressure on that, and that's what keeps the filter seated against the housing and keeps the suction pipe engaged in the housing, so it doesn't come out and not do its job. I ordered a brand new gasket for this. For some reason, when I ordered all the gaskets, the only two I didn't order were the bottom ones here. I don't know why. I got one for the top and the hydraulic pump, and one for the end of the housing where it mounts the transmission. But for some reason, I forgot those two. There. All the bolt holes line up, so that must be correct. And the cover. I think that's all of them. Alright, before I forget, I'm going to take the suggestion of a viewer. I'm going to put a rubber band on this roller bearing to help keep these rollers from falling out. Now I'm assuming eventually this rubber band will get chewed up, but for right now, that's going to do its job. Well, I think it's finally time. I think it's about time that we can hang this back and make this tractor one piece again. That's the plan anyways. Guess that's not the right size. Now I'll make sure our gasket fits before we go too far. Looks good to me. This ought to be fun to get lined up. I have an idea. We'll put a thin layer of gasket maker on here just to help hold the paper gasket in place. Perfect. I'm going to try to put these longer bolts in just to help locate things, to help get things lined up. Huh. Huh. It's going. Before we get too crazy, let's make sure our shafts spin. PTO one spins. How about our drive? Yep, that one spins too. Nice. Alright, we're going to go back together, and I even recruited some help here. Go slow, easy. Alright, hold it up to this. It looks like this has to go up too. That looks like it has to go way up. Alright, now to tighten up the last bolt. Now that feels like productivity. She's finally setting on all fours. There was a lot of work today, but I'm glad we're to the point we are. Now it's just a matter of doing all the little things, getting the linkages hooked up, rerunning the wiring, putting the fuel tank on. The list of little things is about a mile long. So we're not anywhere as close to being done, but to me it's a pretty big milestone, getting the thing back in one piece, setting on 4 tires. So that'll be the subject of another day, getting all that other little stuff done. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you like our channel, as always, we ask you to subscribe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.